darkness of these cold winter days and towards the end of the winter reveal to us that the world is still very wounded, fractured, threatened by human greed and manipulation of the stock markets, of the people of Libya, or of Egypt, of the Holy Land. There are rumors of war, and now as we worship this morning, people are dying. All kinds of godless things are happening. And I'm upset. My friend Bob Nervig, who was once a member of this congregation, is now at Evan Northwestern Hospital in the last hours of his life. The wretched cancer has taken his energy and strength apart from me. He doesn't want to eat anymore. And he is thankfully surrounded by prayer, especially the prayer of Tizay, one of the brothers that was in the Tizay community who now teaches at Lutheran Seminary, is by his side. I'm so thankful for Bob Nervig and what he has meant to the church and its ministry, especially with young people, especially with city ministry. I'm so thankful for what he meant even to this congregation. It was he, you see, that introduced to us forms of the Tizay prayer. It was he that brought to us the cross, the icon from community in France. It was he that invited me to go to Tizay with Karen, and we've been there several times to pray and to listen for God. I want to experience God. I think you do too. I think all the religions of the world want to find God and experience God. And we see people in many countries who actually pray and meditate regularly to experience God. All three texts from today's lesson are all about the experience of God. In this last season of the Epiphany season, the season of light, we see these texts all filled with light. Revelations from God. I mean real revelations, real experiences of God that human beings have and continue to have. All three texts take us to a mountaintop. The mountains have always been very important. From the psalmist saying, I lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help cometh from the Lord, to the great Mount Olympus in northern Greece, where Zeus and Athena, the goddess, lived. People have sought the mountaintops. It's been on mountains where great experiences of revelations taking place. Here in the text we see Mount Sinai, the great center of Hebrew religious experience, is the place of the burning bush, the place where Moses got the Ten Commandments, the place where Moses experienced God. In the beloved land of Greece that I like to visit with Karen, we see monasteries everywhere. The early Christian church set aside places in the most beautiful mountain settings, the most beautiful experience of the creation, above the seas and in the fresh air, where they spent time as monks in worship, in contemplation, in listening for God. And many of them experienced God as they meditated on the scripture and prayed and took time to be silent. And then they found themselves giving to the poor, living a life of care and love for others. And so the monastery of Tizay has been important for many. Thousands are going there from all countries of the world. And they are seeking an experience with God. We see in today's lesson there really was an experience here. It was an experience that was not one of gloomy darkness, but one of light, bright light. It was one of revelation. It was fire. It was something out of the ordinary. It was the very presence of God experienced in that silence. This past Sunday, I went with my grandchildren and Karen to see the latest of the Narnia series. I recommend you parents to consider it. This is something for your family. The Narnia books were written by a great professor from Oxford in the 20th century who you may remember to be C.S. Lewis. In Narnia, there's a story of some heroic children who get caught up out of the everyday ordinary in looking at a picture on their wall of a ship in a choppy sea. These people, these children, begin to get involved in the very picture they see. They find themselves on a great voyage. And the voyage takes them into the midst of a battle between good and evil. And there are real dangers, and there are real things to make us frightened in that story. Even monsters. But there are also the animals that talk. And they're also in that story the sense of a bright morning star on the horizon that leads them to a place of God. And some say in the story there's Jesus, or God, in the form of Aslan, a lion, a beautiful lion who talks. I think what I experience in C.S. Lewis' writing is the experience of God. The mystics give evidence of long periods of prayer and silence. Remember when Moses went up on the mountain, it was for 40 days and 40 nights. 40 days and 40 nights. That's a long time not to eat. I think they should at least have something to drink. I had some young people coming and work at the food shop yesterday from Bethlehem Church. They were on a hunger fast. They were going just 24 hours without food. But even then, their leader gave them some water to drink.